You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm so glad that you've joined me on this beautiful, beautiful day out. At least where I'm at, it's a beautiful day. The sun is out, nice blue skies, a few clouds, but we're supposed to get some thunderstorms, so I'm prepared. In the summer months, it's that time where people are saying, I do a lot. They're going out, gotten their marriage licenses, and they're running to the chapel and they're saying, I do, I want you forever, my love. The problem is that a lot of them have not done a financial compatibility check. And what leads up next to end the story is financial incompatibility. And fights begin because bills are not getting paid. Just remember, if your lover has debt, when you say I do, that becomes your debt also. You may not think it does, and you hope that it doesn't, but it does. And pretty soon there's finger pointing and there's name calling and there's all this other stuff that people just don't get, that if they would have done a financial compatibility study at the very beginning, before they said I do, and began taking care of all of the financial issues that they had. They might have had car debt. They might have had school debt. They might have had tax returns they have not filed for 4 years. They may have taxes that are owed. And the list goes on. If they would have taken care of that debt when they said I do, it would have been a really nice situation, because the marriage would not have had this stress of debt. Just like banks have now, they have stress tests that they take to make sure that they are okay. Well, the same thing should be done with those individuals who are entering into the role of matrimony, because if you focus on your financial issues at the very beginning, before you say I do, the stress test is going to be minimal. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to sit down with a good financial planner or somebody even your tax accountant or your accountant. Run your credit scores and credit reports, bring it to the meeting so that we can go through each other's debt that you may have. Because a credit report tells a lot of different things, and it may even tell us what you need to work on to improve that credit score over time. But it also lets us address the debt and who has the most debt, and are you willing to bring that debt into your marriage? That is the biggest question of all. Then we want to look at your tax returns. Who is making the most money? Are you taking out the right amount of taxes? As you know, the tax laws have changed. Hopefully you guys have all sat down with your tax accountant and gone over what you need to do to change on your W-4. And then we look at other issues. Excuse me. We look at other various issues that are what you want to plan for the future, the budget that you need to set yourself. If you don't start setting yourselves budgets, and both of you working on those budgets together, not just one person, because if one person is just doing it, then it allows the other person to do the blame game. And let me tell you, financial blaming, it puts a lot of stress, and it begins to tear you apart. And there becomes frustrations, there becomes anger, there becomes all these other aspects. So if you do this at the very beginning, and maybe sometimes you even have to withhold, or not withhold, but hold off on doing the marriage until you have your financial lives secure, that you have addressed all the issues that you had with your financial guy or girl, and you have laid out a plan of action of how you're going to address these financial problems. That's why we call it financial compatibility. You may not be financially compatible at the moment to enter into a marriage, and you have to be honest with each other about that issue. Do you want to go into a marriage where you're going to be constantly bickering about how much you can spend, the shortages that you may have every single month, the debt that you have to pay down, the taxes that you have to negotiate with the state or the federal governments, the tax returns that you have to file, the student debt that is looming over you? Do a financial compatibility check. And then set your checklist of what you need to do to get you into a good place. Because if you're not in a good place financially, entering into a marriage, you will have issues. And they may be devastating issues. So I want you to think about that, because during these summer months, all of you are thinking about getting married. And I don't know why you're doing it during the summer months, because I tell you, last weekend when I performed the marriage ceremony for a couple, it was hot. It was 90 degrees. I'm wearing a black robe, and it was freaking hot. Wait until, forget about the June weddings and move it to December, because it's much cooler. I tell you, when you're standing there and you're doing the vows for the people who are getting married, and you are sweating up a storm, it is freaking bad, I'm telling you. But it's even more worse if you're entering into a marriage where you're not financially aware of what the issues are and what you need to work on. And let me tell you, budgets are so very important. I don't know how to stress this to you more than anything. Sit down and do your budget. Do you know how much money is coming in? You know what your monthly living expenses should be. And you also know what debt is sitting out there that you need to pay down. And live within that budget until everything is paid down. And make sure that you have your emergency fund built up. In case a tire goes out, in case a transmission goes out, in case plumbing goes bad in the house, make sure you have an emergency fund set up so that you take care of those issues. $1,000 at first, then build it to $2,000, build it to $4,000. Make sure you have an emergency fund just in case something goes bad. And let me tell you, bad things always happen when you don't want them to happen. That's just life in this world. But you have to be prepared, and you have to be a very good planner. And that's why you have budgets. And that's why you have emergency funds. But that's also what you do at the very beginning of the marriage, so that you've done that financial compatibility checklist before you say I do. I encourage each and every single one of you to do that. If you need help, if you need to sit down with myself, I have an office in Burbank, and I have an office in Greenville, South Carolina. And if you want to do it over the phone, we can do it there also. Send me an email if you need help at mlodge@lodge-co.com. And let's get that financial compatibility checklist under control before you say I do. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.